Good afternoon, SJHL fans. Welcome inside SJHL Weekly. I'm Clark Munroe. We're here in the IKS Media Studios. A wonderful show for you today. A bit of a different show because, well, you'll see in a minute. But we have a great show ahead. We're going to recap a busy weekend, 10 games on the ice across the province. A lot of rematches, a lot of kind of back-to-back series this weekend, so it'll be fun to kind of dive into those. Plus, we're going to look at Players of the Week, which is coming out shortly, as well as play a game of Sustained or Objection in segment 3, which we played earlier in the season, and we haven't brought it back yet, but we're going to bring it back today. We have some fun coming up for you in segment 3, and we're going to be joined by Melfort Mustangs leading scorer Logan Belton. So a lot of fun for you today, a great show, and we're looking forward to getting into it here. Before we dive into it all, we just, of course, have to thank all of our sponsors: Canterra Seeds, Borgo, Capital Auto Mall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, obviously our broadcast sponsor, UPL, thanks to those guys, SGU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. And we have to also thank our co-hosts today, because one of them is doing his best. Well, Jamie's doing his best as well. But the other one, there he is. Rory McGouran is joining us virtually via Humboldt because of the snow, obviously. Unless you're living under a rock, you know that we basically got like 2 feet of snow dumped on us over the weekend. So roads being what they are, Rory's still joining us regardless. Rory, welcome in.
Thank you, buddy. I didn't know where you were going with that. I'm trying hard here. I did a lot of prep for the show. I'm not going to be able to make it. But then you met Nugsy, and that doesn't really surprise me. So
Nugsy's trying his best too. Let's be honest.
I'm doing very well.
Yeah, good. Good to see you, Nugsy. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I got a little trivia question for you guys off the hop. So let's jump right into that. There are 2 players in the SJHL born outside of North America. Can you name them?
Well, we got the one. I don't know, Rory, how confident are you in your answer? I know one for sure.
I think I have both.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Rory.
Well, I'll say the obvious one, and I'll let you say the other one. Nikita Ivashenko.
Yeah, where's he from?
The Ukraine, right?
And he plays for?
The Battleford's North Stars.
Right, okay. That's one, yeah.
And I believe Boris Kaufman is the second one.
No.
Oh.
Born in Canada?
I think he was born in Canada.
Yeah, you're probably right. Who is the second one?
The second, there we go. Good sound effects. Good sound effects. The second one is Brandon Myers, who was born on a U.S. Air Force base in Landstuhl, Germany.
Obviously.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of trivia for you.
There you go.
Start off the show entertaining and educating.
Starting off the show, just wrecking our confidence.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, you know what, Nugsy, speaking of educating, you retweeted the SJHL feed for this show. And, you know, I prompt everyone else to go and do that. Share the show so people can watch it. But you got, to quote American Revolutionary leader Sam Adams, join or die. Not that drastic, but you get the point. Can you give us a little backstory on that, since you're a history buff?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd be very happy to. So Sam Adams led a group in Boston in the mid-1770s called the Sons of Liberty, and they were really rabble-rousers that started everything, the head of steam that led to the Americans starting their path towards the American Revolution and trying to get independence from Great Britain, which of course they earned. They declared independence in 1776. The war ended in 1783, but they started in the mid and early 1770s dumping tea in Boston Harbor and throwing snowballs at British soldiers and whatnot. So Sam Adams is a big key leader to start the American Revolution. But thank you for asking.
When did he invent the beer?
And he famously, I don't know the story about that, but it's probably an urban myth. But I'm sure he liked a lot of beer. Who doesn't like beer?
My response to that is, who cares? Because Great Western and Original 16 are way better. That's a sponsor shout out right there, boys. That's how you do it.
I don't even know where you get Sam Adams in.
I don't know if you can, honestly. Yes, thank you for the sponsor bar. Yeah, Great Western. Yeah. Good call, Ryan. Anyways, guys, we had 10 games over the weekend. I know you guys were, well, you weren't busy, Nugsy. You kind of had a weekend off, so to speak.
What's a weekend off?
It's never a weekend off, but you had a quieter weekend, we'll say. Rory, I know you were busy. Let's get into the recaps here. We'll show Friday's scores. and get that done. Estevan, they had a good weekend. We're going to talk about Estevan. 3-2 win over Battlefords at home. Then probably one of the wildest games of the year, and we're going to get into this one later too. Yorkton with a 7-6 overtime victory against the Melville Millionaires in that wonderful Highway 10 rivalry to kick off the weekend. Flin Flon, they keep rolling. They got a 5-1 win over Nipawin. Melfort Mustangs had a 4-3 win over Kindersley. That was a great game. And then LaRange, they just snuck one out 2-1 over the Humboldt Broncos. Let's flip over to Saturday now. Humboldt got their revenge with a 4-2 win on Saturday night. Actually, it was Saturday afternoon because the LaRange Ice Wolves had their sportsman dinner featuring Matthew Barnaby later that evening. So they got the game out of the way at 2:30 in the afternoon. So that was fun. I'm sure Rory didn't mind getting home a little earlier after that one. The Estevan Bruins, what a game this one was. A 1-0 overtime victory over the Battlefords North Stars. Benjamin Polhill gets his first career SJHL shutout in extra time, too, nonetheless. Melville snuck out a 4-1 win to get their revenge over Yorkton. Flin Flon just kept rolling with a 5-2 win over Nipawin in that rematch. And then Melfort got another win against Kindersley in that rematch on Saturday night. So we'll bring it back to the studio. Guys, interesting storylines coming out of this weekend. The playoff picture gets no clearer, I would say, whatsoever. But we're going to go to the headlines now and kind of knock these out one at a time. The Mustangs reign. Stangs reign. The Mustangs continue to stay in first place. Rory, I'll start with you on this one. 2 wins over the Kindersley Clippers this weekend. I mean, we've said it lots of times, and I feel like I'm getting to become a broken record here. But what are the Mustangs doing right here? They keep winning. Yeah,
and it's kind of, when looking back at a bunch of these shows, we don't really usually have the Mustangs in the headlines because it's just status quo. It's the Mustangs continue to be the best team in the league, just like they were late last season, just like they were in the playoffs, winning the championship. And the fact that there was no layover is the most impressive part. So let's just run through a couple of these stats. First overall, everyone knows that. They're first in home wins. They're first in road wins. They're first in goals against. They're first in penalty kill. They have 15 goals against in 9 home games, a 1.66 at home. So good luck beating them at home in the Northern Lights Palace. It's not going to happen. It's dominant, but it's status quo, which is why where's the flair and where's our headlines for them? You don't need them because they aren't the dominant team in the league, but it's really hard to argue if they're not the best team in the league because they are. They've had absolutely no malaise to come in after a long Centennial Cup, a long playoff reign and championship. And here is what they're doing right. This is the championship material. In 1-goal games, 10-0-0. Undefeated. Every close game goes by way of Melfort, and that's a championship team.
Yeah, no question about it. And, right when you go into the Melfort Mustangs locker room at the Northern Lights Palace, I know they weren't there this weekend, they were in Kindersley, but it says something along the lines of winners only, something like that. And to me, the way that they play, the way they go about winning, and Rory laid out some good stats. I have more that even support this. The metrics that this Melfort Mustangs team has been playing playoff hockey and dominantly so the last little while, it means, listen up to this. Christian Coombs averages 27 saves against per game. That is very low. Madden Malacca, 18 saves per game. That is very low. That is a great team stat. Their Corsi is 53%. Corsi is essentially whether you or the other team are getting more of the total shots towards the net in the course of a game. Of course, they're third in the league in that stat. They give up 2.4 goals against per game. The list goes on and on. Their penalty kill is unbelievable. In this series against Kindersley, and again, the Clippers, have been having a hard time scoring goals. They've been having a hard time grinding at results a little bit lately, though their schedule has been murderous in November. It really has been a murderer's row for the Clippers, and they're dealing with some injuries, especially to the Perlinger twins. But the shots were pretty even in this series. The good scoring chances were pretty even in this series. In fact, it was 9-9 in terms of high XG scoring chances over the 2 games. So both teams play a kind of hard-nosed, physical playoff style of hockey. But you look at that 9-9. 2 of those 9 for Melfort were the grade quadruple A variety, and Kindersley had zero real home plate chances in the 2 games. So the Melfort Mustangs, as Rory and I have laid out, are ready for the playoffs right now.
So too long did not read version of that is the Mustangs are still good.
Yeah, good, but like
good. Still great.
The way they play, it's just you go deep, like you go deep playing. Like
Nugsy, what was that word that you used when talking about the American rabble-rousers or something?
Yeah.
What was it?
The Sons of Liberty? Yeah, like they made a nuisance of themselves. They bothered the British sentries into opening fire on a crowd, and that's what caused the Boston Massacre.
What was the actual word you said, though?
Rabble-rousers.
Rabble-rousers, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about the Perlinger twins.
Well,
I just wanted to see if you could use
segue.
it. If you could use it when talking about an SJHL team, because it's a new word for me and I love learning things. So
all right.
It's very, very good diction by you, Nugsy.
We'll keep it in mind.
Well, Nugsy's History Corner this week brought to you by, I don't know, we'll have to get a sponsor for the Nugsy's History Corner. But it's a good one. It's a good segment. Now we know about Sam Adams. So there you go. I love that. Let's move on, guys, to the Flin Flon Bombers. They just continue to roll. Manitoba Muscle is the headline for this one. 6 wins in a row. The last 2 coming, of course, this weekend over the Nipawin Hawks. Nugsy, I'm going to start with you for Flin Flon here. They have found some sort of formula for winning in the last 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I had a conversation about this with Doug Johnson recently, and you talk to any coach in the league, really. If you don't, I'm not trying to slam any goalie, but if you don't believe in your goaltending, what do you have? There's that old saying, right, Clark, Rory, goaltending is 50% of hockey. Until you don't have it, then it's 80%. The Flin Flon Bombers and Matthew Keeper, they feel like they have their solution. Now, of course, Mike Reagan hasn't given up on Kenneth Marquardt at all. He's been very clear about that all year long. Did the Flin Flon Bombers have the hardest schedule in the league in November? No, they didn't. With no disrespect meant to anybody, but you have to beat who's in front of you. And certainly Flin Flon did that over this home-and-home set with the Nipawin Hawks. The Flin Flon Bombers, were probably favored over the series, the Hawks coming off of that big win against Humboldt. But Rory, we always talk about what do you need for a bit of an upset? You need discipline. Well, 18 power plays for Flin Flon over these 2 games. And you need goaltending. And the Bombers put plenty of pucks in the net. Is that Nathan Clayton or Gage Roberts' fault? Probably not all the way, but that's what you need. Usually Tad Kozin does coach discipline and PK very well, so I'm sure they're back to the drawing board a little bit in that regard. But Rory, there just isn't a lot of holes in this Flin Flon Bombers team right now.
No, I think, they're proving that they're going to be that challenger again. They're not the last year Flin Flon Bombers. We talked about that last week, but they're going to be a challenger. Yeah. And outscoring your opponents 28-11 in the month of November on a 6-game winning streak. We all knew that those positive analytical figures, you talked about them for the Melfort Mustangs. Well, although that the Flin Flon Bombers had a slumping start, their analytical figures, their Corsi, their shots, their defending, it was all good. It was all in their favor. So we figured that it was going to bounce back. As you said, and I do have a little asterisk, not that it's crazy demerital against them, because like you said, you got to beat who's in front of you. But 5 of their wins, of the 6 wins in this winning streak, came against teams that are currently out of the playoffs. So their schedule is going to get a little harder. And going forward, we will see if that challenge that we expect them to be will stack up. But this is where we kind of figured it would bounce back. Everything would even out, even Stevens, Jerry Seinfeld type style for the Flin Flon Bombers. And a 6-game winning streak is doing that for them.
Yeah, and they're as seasoned, as an experienced as a club as there are in the SJHL. There are plenty of guys back. You think about Cole Tanchuk, Anthony Piccinino, etc. That were there on the runs, and this Flin Flon team has been on a run every year. Obviously, 3 finals in a row for them. It obviously hasn't turned out once in their favor in those 3, but that still is a lot of experience. They know what they're doing. And, when Kylan Olofsson comes back, the Flin Flon Bombers, like some teams in this league, do have a 20-year-old question mark, I guess, to answer. But that all being said, it's a problem because they're all very good 20-year-olds. You go down the list, and, the ones that he's added are the winning type the experienced type who played in good leagues, have played lots of minutes. And, it's all looking up for Flin Flon, but the health obviously is something that we have to highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. When they get healthy, and you know what I said, a few weeks ago, I said as soon as the Flin Flon Bombers have one domino fall, it's going to start falling, and 6 wins in a row. Like Rory said, non-playoff teams, but I think it was Killer Kaminsky who said on our SJHL Insider a couple weeks ago, you can't take anybody in this league lightly this year. It's one of those years. Like if you look at our standings, and we will. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead right now. We'll break this. We'll break the script a little bit and just bring it up now. If you look at it, I mean, now Melfort. We talk about separation last episode, guys. Rory, I think you brought it up. Like, when are we going to see some separation? Melfort finally has a little bit of that separation in first place right now with a 5-point separation from second. But from second to ninth, it's still 4 points. 4 points total from second to ninth. And then if you see Estevan, they get 2 wins this weekend, and all of a sudden, they're a few inches closer to that ninth and maybe in the playoff discussion as well. And they have 4 games in hand. So if they win all 4 of those games, they're right in the whole group. So, I mean, if you want to bring them back to the studio now, we'll bring up the standings again a little bit later in the show. But, guys, it's just one of those seasons. It's fun, and I think it's going to be this way for a little while. We're still going to take some time to get that separation. I know last year about this time there was probably 3 teams in a tier, and then there was like a second tier of like 6 or 7 teams, and then they had the bottom tier. This year it seems like it's 1 tier all the way to 9. There's that Estevan is that still kind of in a question mark spot, and then you got the bottom 2. It's a crazy season. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, lots of number 25s. I just wanted to make one of the headlines 25 because 4 of the teams in the league are on 25 points, which is pretty wild. And I'm sure if Cody Mapes was sitting between us, maybe in the Rory spot, he would say, well, we haven't played any games in the last couple of weeks, so before you start handing the Melfort Mustangs,
no, you're right.
A separation tag, maybe remember that the Wayward Red Wings haven't played in a bit, albeit the last time they did play, they did
lost.
Lose. But of course they had that postponement against Melville, and they haven't played since.
Maybe they're having separation anxiety.
Ah, good one.
How about that? Rory, anything to add before we move on?
I mean, I listened to your guys' SJHL Insider on Thursday, and Nugsy put it wonderfully, is that there's no league like this. And we haven't seen this in at least a handful of years, right? At least in 5-7 years that we haven't seen this. It's electric, and I'm glad that you highlighted Estevan there, because even if they go 600, right? 3 out of the 5 wins. Now they got 3 out of the games in hand that I'm talking about. Now they got 23 points.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
They're right there. It's only going to take a couple weeks, and Christmas break isn't that far away. But I'll be flabbergasted and floored to see where we're at by then. Let's just get through this week first. Obviously, there's a lot going on. But speaking of that, Rory, thank you for that segue. Let's bring up the headline: Bear Country, because they did pull off 2 wins this weekend. The Estevan Bruins. Over the Battleford's North Stars, who technically they're chasing. And it was an interesting weekend, I think, Nugsy, to say the least. We'll start with you.
Well, Clark, do you remember what I talked about the Estevan Bruins on Insider? Do you remember?
I think so.
They love, Jason Tatarnik
the
loves
slow start,
he loves the narrative of backs up against the wall, everybody thinks the room is gone, nobody believes in us. I'm not saying he loves that because that means things aren't going well. But he seems to handle that narrative as well as anybody in the
Can
league.
I put pause on your thing there just for a second? The highlight that you just saw was Estevan winning their game in overtime there.
Yeah.
As a former game day producer myself, and Rory, I think you're involved in the game day stuff on your side of things in Humboldt. The scariest thing in hockey is when you go to overtime at a 0-0 game and it's your teddy bear toss night, because there's a chance that you won't get a goal on your teddy bear toss night, and they'll have to throw the teddy bears when the other team scores in overtime. Just wanted to say that. It's a terrifying thing for anybody out there in game day worlds. So I'm glad that Estevan got that goal, because teddy bear toss games are a nightmare. I'll tell you that.
And you know who deserves credit for that nightmare in a lot of ways is the goalies. Justin Merrick and Ben Polhill both put on a huge show over the weekend. Between the 2 games, guys, there were 23 power plays between Battlefords and Estevan, and 1 goal, and that was it. work on something, guys. Serious. But, jokes aside, Ben Polhill, welcome to the SJ. The job is yours for now. Obviously, we've talked about Kyle Kelsey and his departure. Don't need to talk more about that. But, he had a rough go. The Bruins had a rough go up in Larange a couple weeks ago. And I think, again, a lot of people freaked out. And maybe fair enough, but again, what a response. They played hard. This Battleford's team, guys, week after week, maybe they win, maybe they don't. They always put a ton of pucks on the other team's goaltender. They're fourth in shots on goal per game in the league. The Battleford's North Stars are. But sometimes we've also seen it where it's feast or famine for this Battleford's team. They do have a lot of goals scored on the year, but we see it where they get lots of chances, but they're missing je ne sais quoi, that Kean Bell, that superhero that can put on his cape and iron it and score that big goal for them when they need it. They got it against Weyburn in that 2-game set in Weyburn. I talked about it, I believe, on Insider. Whenever Estevan and Battlefords do battle in Affinity Place, they're so far away from each other geographically, it doesn't really make sense, but it's always a doozy. So 2 one-goal games, 2 big wins for the Bruins. And Rory, the Estevan Bruins couldn't have asked for a better time to come up with a 2-game home sweep.
Nope, it was perfect. And I got to double down on Ben Polhill as well, because he deserves more of a shout out for a rough start at the beginning of the season to the team bringing in a 20-year-old experienced WHL goaltender. A little bit of a hurt to a psyche, but you're a young goaltender. It's fine, right? You understand that you need to win as well. Then that goaltender leaves. Then you lose 10-1 and get punched in the mouth. And then to bounce back and have this weekend, it shows resiliency, it shows maturity, it shows that he's gravitating towards the SJHL game and really finding himself as an SJHL goaltender. So shout out to Ben Polhill, because that's a lot to take, and to keep your head on your shoulders, unbelievable job by him. Estevan, we talk about Affinity Place being a hard place to win. Estevan's +6 at home. They're -22 on the road. So they're always going to be good at home. I'd like to see them clean up a bit on the road, and I'd like to see a little bit more offense, because they only get 2.47 goals per game scoring for themselves, which is 11th place. Only Nipawin is less than that. And they actually generate the lowest amount of shots per game at 28.16. So love Ben Polhill, love his mentality and just the way to fight through a lot of things that you could have got deterred about. And on the other side for Estevan, you generate a little bit more offense with those games in hand, and you could be looking at 7th, 6th spot, climb up the rankings very fast.
Yeah, interesting story with Ben Polhill. Again, he's, a rookie to just jump in and expect everybody. I mean, that's what makes, we kind of went through Kindersley a little bit quickly, but that's what makes, Brett O'Halloran's season so far so remarkable, the way that he's, handled himself as a young buck, and so impressive. So for Polhill, he's a guy that Jason Tatarnic, was it a flyer? I wouldn't say so. Obviously, his dad is well known in Calgary and Alberta minor hockey. He's a big time big shaper and mover at the Edge Hockey Academy in Calgary, which is a great place. And Ben played there for a while pretty ably, and last year he had a bit of a turmoil season, splitting time between playing some Junior B in Alberta and going to Saha and playing behind kind of a superstar goalie in Marek Schlenker there in Saha, and working with him and getting some opportunities and playing well. So I guess Jason, just put his faith and trust in this guy. And, I know that there was never any reason to worry or panic. He's an 06. You want to win, but he's a rookie. So you give a kid time and you give a kid an opportunity, and that's what Ben has right now. And what I saw, the eye test from him, the way when games you get pulled or things weren't going his way, I think the D maybe didn't help him as much, and the team work ethic didn't help him as much as Jason Tatarnic and the staff would have liked. And the first thing that Ben Polhill would say this week, and I spoke to his dad actually just a little bit about the weekend against Battlefords, is that the D played great and they stepped up and they helped him a lot, and that's what every goalie needs. So good for him.
Yeah, and not that this is an excuse, because I know every team's going through this, but Estevan has been working on some injury issues as well, and I know they've had to use some APs and stuff in the last little while. I know they're down to just Polhill and an AP goalie at the moment. So, like you said, guys, there's a lot of adversity going on with Estevan, and to have them come out with 2 wins this weekend at home in front of their home crowd, I'm sure that feels so good.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the fourth headline here, I think, gentlemen. Home cooking Highway 10. This had, I think, 4 different titles while we were coming up with this one in the headlines. But the biggest storyline coming out of this weekend, I think, for a lot of people, is that the home teams won in the Highway 10 rivalry. Yorkton won on Friday night, and then Melville won on Saturday night. Back and forth affairs between the two. Obviously, Friday night's game, this is the one we're looking at here. This ended up to be an overtime one, just an unbelievable high-scoring affair. Saturday's was a bit different, but guys, Rory, maybe we'll start with you, I think. Let's talk about this series because there's a lot of implications coming out of these games all year long between these two teams, and this weekend I don't think is any exception.
No, it's the highway hotline, which is being very utilized around the province at its finest between Yorkton and Melville. It's really good to see Melville snap that 7-game losing streak. And I know we always say it's only November, it's plenty of time to bounce back. Don't panic, right? But you can't brush that off. It's 13% of your season. So, they needed to figure it out and start playing a little better, getting a little better goaltending, consistent through 60 minutes, which maybe they weren't, and picking up some points because, yes, it is only November, but this was a team that was once in first place and fell all the way to now the playoff line. So we can't brush off a 13% of your season losing streak, but it's really, really good for them to get back in the win column. The 7-6 game on Friday was absolutely wild. Not a great time for the 2 young goaltenders in Brunin and Craig. But this is just the way hockey games go in Yorkton. They've played more 3+ goal differential games in Yorkton than 1 or 2 goal games. It's track meets. And I don't know what that arena does to bring it out of not only the Terriers, but both teams. But Melville with the upper hand in the rivalry so far, 3-1 out of 4 out of 8 games. But if this is a playoff series, man, these two teams are pretty evenly matched up.
Yeah, and, talking to Doug Johnson early in the year, too, he talked about, he really wanted to bring in Logan Belton and really kind of solidify the experience in net for Melville. And Loic got pretty, seriously hurt. I remember watching the game and it seemed like he got hurt to some degree. I obviously can't comment on what or how long or whatever, but, that we're just talking about, throwing the whole load on young kids. And both Luke Brunin and Nick Jeanette are guys that have a ton of potential, ton of talent, but they're young. This is a different level. These are 19, 20-year-olds. These are guys who are fighting for college scholarships and stuff. So it's a different world, and they're learning that different world. I don't really think I can think of any Doug Johnson team that's kind of leak goals. Metrically speaking, this Melville team still doesn't give up that many scoring chances. I know that this game is 7-6 and, it's the classic junior hockey game where pucks are just flying in. And, this game where the Yorkton Terriers were trailing, as you can see, and they were able to kind of rally with 3 quick ones. Their power play is obviously such a factor, whether Keenan Ingram is the one who's scoring or whether he's the decoy. We've talked about that, whether he can use that shot or not. And actually, Keenan Ingram didn't get any power play points over these 2 games, but just because he's there, you have to see, Simon Perini's got to be in his back pocket on this penalty kill for Melville. So whether or not he's there, it still makes this Yorkton team so dangerous. They add Tate Schofer back to the lineup, a Western Hockey League experienced forward. He's another weapon for them. You talk about whether it's a track meet, you got to think it's a challenge for Emery Lawson in some ways to rein in these forwards to help out their decor a little bit because they know they have so much firepower up front. Whether it's the likes of Schofer or Arenas or Denwai or Ingram or, you go down the list. I'm not leaving anybody out on purpose, but it seems like it's such an attractive way because it hasn't really stung Yorkton too much so far this year. But obviously the next night, good to see for Melville to snap that kind of losing streak. They got 3 out of a possible 4 points from this weekend, so that's the positive way you got to look at it. They still got all sorts of weapons. You see that partnership forming between Rain Hodge and Braden Zacharias, and they've been changing their right winger, but it seems like it's some decent depth now behind whatever line Caden Drury's on. I think that's what Caden Drury really needs and the Melville Millionaires really need. Again, it's been a tough stretch. Rory's right. It is a significant part of their schedule, but still plenty of season to go. When we looked at those standings, like it's just 32 to 25 and 8. So wild. Anything can happen. We could be top. Singing Melville's praises next weekend. It'd be very easy.
Yeah, for sure. And another notable return to the lineup was Jeff Hammond.
Right.
Also came back this weekend.
What a couple ads, eh? Hammond
and Chauffeur.
Not bad.
Not bad. Now, out of the lineup, they still have Jai Zawatsky, not even in the lineup right now, or at least this weekend. Harrison Aldridge was out this weekend. So, like, they got some guys. They got some horses. They got some dogs, for the Terriers. But it's going to be a great series between these two teams all year long, guys. I think we'd all agree on that. And I wasn't able to get to the game on Friday. I was going to try to get down there. I'm still on the books. I got to get down to a game in either Yorkton. I've been to Melville already. I want to get down to Yorkton, and hopefully it's for a Melville game. But we'll see how that works. We'll get down there at some point. Rory, anything else before we move on?
Good.
All right. Now, the final one, of course, is the Dog and Pony Show. Now, usually when we do the Dog and Pony Show, so I was very confused when you put this headline in on our group chat, because I was like, usually that's the Hounds and the Broncos. But
or
no.
the Terriers.
Or the Terriers, right? But no, this one is referring to, of course, the Broncos and the Ice Wolves. Now, Rory, I'll start with you on this one. A couple of interesting games. Obviously, the revenge on Saturday for Humboldt in the afternoon. Again, must have been nice for you to get home a little bit earlier after this one. But can you talk about the weekend here for Humboldt and the Ice Wolves?
It was definitely nice, especially when the snow was coming down. Right, we were able to get back before the daunting part of it really hit us. But I'm sad this series has came to an end. They've played each other 4 times already this year. That's it. No more Humboldt versus LaRange, because a 2-2 split. They were all just, great hockey games to watch and call. They were fast-paced, ended in a 11-10 overall score combined between the 4 games in favor of LaRange with the extra goal there. But they were just so fun to call, and it brings out the best in SJHL when you get that style of hockey. And they weren't track meets. It was just fast and physical and hard and earn it to win it, right? That's who the team that didn't work hard enough was not getting a cheeky credit win. You needed to outwork the other team in all 4 games, and I just loved watching it. 2 specific players I want to call out, or actually 3, is Mason Buchert for the LaRange Ice Wolves, who's found his game, and we knew that he would. But 7 points in his first 13 games, not good enough. 19 points in his last 11 games, that's more like it. That's the Mason Buchert that LaRange needs. And once again, 2 penalty minutes all year. The LaRange Ice Wolf also, Graham Brown's been a revelation. Not a big goaltender, but man, is he exceptional. Made 50-some-odd saves in that win on Friday against Humboldt. And then on the Humboldt Broncos side, we got to put some respect, and an underrated player we do not talk about a lot is Marek Mamich, because the Broncos often talk about sustained identity because they can fall flat. We've seen some stinkers from Humboldt, but when Marek Mamich is in the lineup, there's kind of a force field around that identity. They're 9-3-1 when he's in the lineup. They're 2-5 when he's not. He's been hurt twice. He's been suspended twice. He's not asked to put up a ton of points, but he's basically a point-per-game player. And just that energy and the style of play is the way that Humboldt wants to play every game. And when he's in the lineup, it pays so much dividends, and it just completely transforms the team, and they're less likely to lay a lackadaisical effort. So shout out to Buchert, to Brown, and to Mamich. Those are my 3 guys I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, again, we talk about, what is the SJ4, and people like to have these big conversations, and whether it's in trouble or not, or whether the CHL thing hurts, or blah, blah, blah. You know what? That's whatever. The bottom line is, a guy like Graham Brown has probably been overlooked his whole life because he's small. He is small. Can't take that away from him. That's just the way it is. But he stops the puck. We talked about Daz, and we talked about how elite he is in this league. You see him walking around he's not a big guy. I'm not insulting him. He's just not a big guy. But the SJHL says, hey, come here and show out, and you'll get seen, and you'll be facing good players. And a guy like Graham Brown, he was really good in Junior BC in BC last year, comes here this year, shows out again. What level can this guy not show out at? And, up in LaRange, we've talked about it a lot. It's not an easy place to play goal. Humboldt pelted him with shots as well, 51 shots. And that is for the home team giving the other team 51 shots. We've had that conversation on other shows about the shots and blah, blah, blah. But that's legitimately 51 Humboldt shots on Graham Brown, and he made 51 saves out of 52. So that is incredible. That is incredible endurance and focus and this kid deserves nothing but credit. Well done, Graham Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. And spoiler alert, we might be talking about him a little bit later in the show for some reason,
Maybe.
one way or the other. But yeah, guys, is there any other, that was our final topic of the headlines. Is there any other teams we want to touch on really quick? Because there is a question actually in the viewers that I wouldn't mind getting to if you guys want to touch on anything else before we get on, move on.
No?
No? Good. Okay, so here's a question. Ryan, I'll get you to toss this one up. It's from Terry. And Terry asks, what do you think the Nipawin Hawks need to do to improve? Now, we've talked a lot about the Nipawin Hawks throughout the season in various different ways. And I don't think they're necessarily doing anything super wrong. I think we've talked about them several times as, yes, okay, they're in the bottom of the league standings at the moment.
Yeah.
However, most of the games they've played aren't necessarily blowouts. They're keeping it close, Nugsy, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they play a good brand of hockey. They play hard. Tad Kozin has tried to build, and Dana Dirks and the staff, Trevor Sabo, they've tried to build through the draft and give young players opportunity. What do we always talk about? What we want the SJHL to look at? We want it to be just a touch younger. We want it to be kind of NCAA focused, even though we have this development model with the major junior in bed with us now, I guess, with Hockey Canada. But the bottom line is Tad Kozin's giving trust in young players. And when you give trust in young players, when a lot of the other league has 8 20-year-olds and they're always like, what do we do with our 9th 20-year-old? That's going to be tough for the Nipawin Hawks. But if they can keep that core together, then they'll be fine. And the only thing that I'll say is just patience. They got a goalie, Nathan Clayton, who's an 06, by the way, stops pucks. Gage Roberts can stop pucks. We've seen that. That's fine. 2 young goalies. Stay the course, Nipawin, and you're going to get rewarded for it. It might not be this year, but it might be next year. And who knows? I think if you can keep a great core together like this, then good things happen. What did we talk about with Yorkton last year? Like they were down in the dumps a bunch, right? And then now look at them. So, Nipawin could be next year's Yorkton very easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory, anything on that?
Yeah, they're just young, right? And I understand that, yes, you want to shine on youth talent, bring them in, get them spotlight, have them integrated with community, with team, right? And that's what it's about. But Nipawin's doing that and asking them to be the go-getters on the team, the top people. It's just going to be tough. And if it's a rebuilding year, then you're not going to be young like this every year, right? You're going to have your young infiltration of players, but you want Will Witter, Jack Jansen, all these guys to be 19 and 20 and still with the Nipawin Hawks in a rebuild. So, yes, we want to highlight and focus on young talent and get a little bit younger, but Nipawin is just collectively very, very young to compete in a 56-game schedule and expect them to win 40 games, right? They're not doing anything wrong. They have 2 young goaltenders. They're just very, very young.
We said the same thing about Yorkton last year.
Yeah, exactly. They're just very young. So we got to give it some time. But I don't think they're doing anything wrong. It's just hard to compete. Yeah. They're a good team that will compete, but it's hard to get the results more often and into a playoff race when you're just the youngest team in the league.
Yeah, and Kelly kind of nails it too in the comment down there. They've picked it up in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they're demanding respect. Like I said earlier in the show, coaches around the league all have said in one way or the other that every team in this league this year, regardless of where they are in the standings, is a tough out, and Nipawin's proving that they are a tough out.
I should have done research. Is Nipawin the only team in the league that's captain isn't 20?
That's a question. We should think about that one.
I'm pretty sure out of 12 teams are the only team who's Finley Radloff is the only. He could come back next year, and would be surprised if he doesn't. Now be their captain again.
Now you got the brain working. Now I'm trying to figure it out. We'll come back to that, but that's a good point. Yeah, they are very young, and their leadership group is also young, so that's a good point. Now, as I mentioned, guys, that was a Facebook comment that just took us on a whole nother tirade. So make sure if you have any topics or questions that you want to hear about or talk about or that we touch on throughout the rest of the show, throw them in the comments now on YouTube or Facebook. And please hit the like and share button as well, if you can. Just help us out on social media. That would be great. It helps us out a lot. You'd be surprised how much those things kind of help us out, especially on Facebook. Like and share. Big deal. Let's get to the highlight of the week now, guys, because there's actually 2. We've been doing this a lot this year, and I'm not mad about it. There's just a lot of really good plays this year, and this week was no exception. We had a between-the-legs goal from Kindersley forward Ethan Sotner, and Caden Drury had a beauty finish of his own. Let's have a look at them now.
Dangerous pass in the middle. It's kept in nicely there by Cunningham. Steps away from Free Gang. Down low, they score! What a beauty by Ethan Sotner! Little play down low between his legs.
Right up the sideboards, but up ahead for Caden Jury. Jury into the attacking zone, walks in, nice move. Jury opportunity, scores! An absolute beauty by Caden Jury.
Now, you know they were both good because both broadcasters, Nugsy and I believe that was Benny Walchuk, both said that was a beauty after both goals. So you know they had to be good. Now, I think Caden Drury's was maybe the definition of a dipsy doodle, fellas. That was a wonderful, he was all over the ice on that goal. He literally went from one side to the other and back.
And Ethan Sotner has clearly been watching a lot of Logan Linklater over his life.
Yes, a little Logan Linklater.
I think Dawson Carroll might be upset now at Ethan Sotner because Carroll also had a highlight reel goal this week as well. But when you throw it between the legs in front of the net, Sotner stole it from him. But I bet you Carroll, was our third bubble highlight of the week for Kindersley.
Carroll had one, and I think the Yorkton Terriers even had a candidate as well. So there was a lot of candidates this week. Trust me, we had to narrow it down to two. We're supposed to only do one. Tourism Saskatchewan is the sponsor of this feature. And it's really only one a week, but we can't keep it to one this year. There's a lot of weeks where we just have to pick two.
We need to catch up with the whole government thing. And
yeah, exactly. We're working overtime for you guys. Yeah. Tourism Saskatchewan, we love you. Highlight of the week. Now, also a big shout out to Chevrolet for highlighting all of our highlight packs as a whole on YouTube. Shout out to them. Thank you again to them. Before we get to news and notes, Ryan, can we put up the division standings just to kind of wrap up the weekend headlines? As you guys can see, Weyburn still has the lead in the Viterra division with Yorkton hot on their heels, and Melville, right there still. Obviously, their past 10 games scare you a little bit if you're looking at that, but they're still right in there, and they're in that group of 25-point teams, as you can see. Estevan, with a couple of wins this weekend, obviously pushes them back into getting into the conversation. Melfort is at the top of the Sherwood division with Flin Flon and Laurens right there, and in the Nutrien division, it's a battle. It is a battle. All teams are having interesting years. I even include Notre Dame in that one because they're 4-5-1 in their last 10 games, which you might look at and say, well, it's below 500. But yes, they're trending in the right direction, though. So that's why I mentioned that. And you see those top three teams, of course, Battleford's, Humboldt, and Kindersley. They're just so close. They're just so close. Kindersley, that past 10 games, though, that might be the scariest one on the board right now. That 2-7-1 in their past 10. So Kindersley, smarten up. But let's move on now to it's Nugsy's favorite segment. It's Nugs and Notes.
It's news and notes, news and notes, news and news and notes, news and notes.
What a beauty he is.
What a beauty.
He's a beauty.
It's a theme of the show today.
He's a good guy, and he's so athletic. He's way more athletic than me.
He has hops.
I'm a little jealous of his athleticism.
Vertical.
All right, couple trades. Very exciting. One is big, and I am a huge Avery Johnson fan. I called a bunch of Prairie Hockey Academy games over the years in Cairnport, Saskatchewan. They came to Notre Dame and played the Hounds U18 preps a bunch. And Avery led them in scoring last year. He was a wonderful player. He's already had plenty of D1 interest when he was in Drumheller and the AJHL. And he'll come in, and I think he'll be an elite player for Kindersley. And I was already talking to Clayton Jardine about being excited to watch Avery in the SJHL. And he's going to be an impact elite 06 talent in this league. You come out and watch him there in Kindersley. And then the Hounds, big-time need-filled Tavon McCorrister, 78 Junior A games of experience already. He's an 06 defenseman as well, and the rights to Van Egger, who, of course, is in the Western Hockey League with the Prince George Cougars. And so Tavon, I understand, will be ready to go against his old team tomorrow night in Wilcox. So I know Tavon is in Wilcox right now, and he is good friends with Notre Dame forward Ian Biors. And so they had a little bit of a connection there. And can we throw up the graphic just quickly one more time? If you mention the SJHL on your next vehicle trade-in at Capital Automotive Group, you'll receive an additional $1,000 on your trade-in value. So that is a great deal. If you just mention it, that's all you got to do. Very cool. Movember update time. Great job, everybody. Look at that. The staff has bolted ahead,
Huge.
beating up on 18, 19, 20-year-olds, grown men with their mustaches. Hounds are still in first in terms of teenagers growing their mustaches, but the SJHL staff with Kelly with his big-time mustache. And there's Aiden Larson. So, Clark, maybe you can explain who Aiden Larson is.
So there is a bit of a story why the SJHL staff is on top right now. Aiden Larson is a friend of Kelly. He has some ties to the SJHL. I don't know if you guys remember goaltender Curtis Meagher, who was in the league a couple of years ago, several years ago, I guess now. Whoa, that's crazy. Curtis Meagher's been out of the league for a while. Anyways, he was, I think he was a 1998 birth year. Anyways, Aiden Larson, friend of Curtis Meagher, friend of Kelly. Kelly was doing some recruiting over the weekend, and Aiden Larson, with his ties, has joined the SJHL staff team. So all of his money now gets dumped into the SJHL staff team pot. So in a way, we're cheating, but at the same time, it's all for a good cause. So who's really mad? Now, the only thing I will say is if we can bring up the standings again, the whole league standings if possible, it's just a challenge to the rest of the teams. You gotta step up again. We got a week here, big week ahead.
Yeah.
So that's just it's a challenge to the team. See who can catch up.
Let's get over 20,000 though for sure.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Last thing on Neugs and Notes. Don't want to keep our guest waiting. Very interested to watch the CHL versus USA Prospects event that's tomorrow and the next day in Ontario. Basically, it's the U.S. Development Program Under-17 team against NHL draft prospects in the NHL, or in the CHL, pardon me. A couple Sasky boys in Cole Rechny, Victoria, and Reese Hamilton of the Regina Pats, two guys who are terrific in Saskatchewan U18 AAA as well.
Yeah, Reese Hamilton of the Regina Pats.
Of the Regina Pats, just recently acquired, of course,
topic
by the Regina Pats. And so make sure you tune in on that. Should be very interesting to see kind of where they stack up, CHL, young kids against the U17 program. Of course, whenever you play the U.S. National Team Development Program teams, is that they're always together, they're always training together, they're always got systems together. So you got to beat USA. Obviously, Canada's always going to be good, but that team is a team, and they're always used to playing with each other. So it's a big challenge, but it'll be very, very interesting to see kind of where everybody stacks up in this day and age.
Absolutely.
Notes.
I know Rory's not on camera right now, but we'll hit a break here. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Melfort Mustangs leading scorer, Logan Belton. Really excited to chat with him. So stay tuned until after these commercials.
Your new truck trade-up has arrived at Capital GMC. Volume pricing is back. As inventory levels go up, prices come way down. And right now, we have over 250 brand new GMC Sierras to choose from. Lease a Crew Cab 4x4 Pro Edition for only $269 bi-weekly plus tax with $0 down. Or work with our finance experts to get the best available rates. Plus, GM certified pre-owned inventory is back too. Shop over 150 vehicles, all makes, all models. It's finally time for your new truck trade-up, only at Capital GMC.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That's the population of Martinsville. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
In a year where Amazon sold its first book, Alanis topped the charts, and the Frappuccino became cool, we were there. Trusted by the Saskatchewan construction industry since 1995. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You can save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel student deals.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly. Of course, we just saw the trophy being hoisted in our little intro coming back in here. And a guy who did a little bit of trophy hoisting last season is Melfort Mustangs forward, Logan Belton. So let's go to him now on the video chat line. Of course, Logan, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today.
All right. Obviously a great season for you guys so far, and we're going to get into a whole lot of stuff about last season and the standings and everything that's going on with you guys. But let's start with you. Obviously, you're leading the team in scoring right now. Things have been clicking well for you. What's been going right for you this season?
I don't know, just the guys I've been playing with. We've just had good chemistry. We've been clicking, so can't complain. We're playing good, and we're just trying to get some wins out and get a good record.
Obviously, last season with the championship season, I'll let these guys dive into that with you a little bit, but you lost a lot of great players. Obviously, there was a little adversity with injury stuff going through the playoff run that you guys went through, but coming back into this year, just for you personally, obviously a lot more responsibility on your shoulders. How did you approach the start of this season with that in mind?
Yeah, of course, it's your last year, you're 20, you're a leader, so it's just a little bit more pressure, but I don't know. We had a really good group of guys coming back. Even though we lost a bunch of our good players last year, almost everyone that was eligible came back. So it was great. So we basically just took off from where we ended last year, and we have no complaints. We've started great, and we're going to keep it rolling.
For sure. Two quick questions for me, Logan. Do you even need a helmet with that much hair on your head, or is it hard to find a helmet that fits you properly?
I wear a small helmet, and I don't think I have that much.
Oh, okay.
It
just seems spongy. I guess compared to Rory
Logan,
and
I was going to say, compared to my co-host here,
well,
you got a mop on your head.
If you go for a haircut and get a Ziploc bag, I wouldn't mind a little bit of
donation.
A little bit of a donation, but
give you some hair, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it. But seriously, you kind of mentioned Clark mentioned the injury situation last year, and what that kind of led to a lot was whether it was Aiden Hutchinson or whether it was Clay Sleva or whether it was Ryan Duguay, whomever, it seemed like you were the guy that kind of Trevor Blevins was the one like, okay, Log, like you're back up on line one, like plug you in there. And just talk about the confidence that situation gave you. Obviously, in a lot of ways, the Mustangs benefited, I think, from the adversity that you guys went through in order to topple Flin Flon in the finals, in order to go so deep in the Centennial Cup. But just talk about it for you personally, maybe what you learned from those guys who are now D1 and whatnot, and just bring it into this year and have that confidence that you can be the man in Melfort too.
Yeah, no, it was huge to go up and down that lineup and just play with a bunch of different guys, because it gets you playing with different guys. So you have to learn different games, and it really helps you just with your overall game and just your overall ability to play anywhere in a lineup, right? Whatever you need to do, whatever role you need to play, you just play that and play to the best of your abilities, and we should have success, and we did last year. So no, it was really good playing with those guys last year. they were awesome to play with. Obviously, you guys know how well we did last year, and yeah, no, I learned a lot from them. Just little things here and there, just little plays in the game, and so no, it was really good to get that opportunity last year, and it's good to see other guys this year step up into bigger roles and get that opportunity as well.
Kind of just piggybacking off of Noogsy's question there. You know, last year of Winnipeg Wild AAA hockey, right? 66 some odd points in 40 games. Break into the SJHL, 16 games in your first year. Obviously 47 points last year, over a point per game this year. When you're talking to a younger kid, or maybe not even, but just your own experience, because we talk about it a lot on this show, that you need to learn the SJHL way, and it can take a little bit of adjustment, you know, in a grown-up game. Just how did you kind of experience the 3 years of the SJHL and the growth that you've seen, and now you can teach it to younger players as well?
Yeah, you know, coming to this league is a lot different. Like everyone says, it's a lot different than anywhere you'll go. Like when I first started as a rookie, I'd say the first all 16 games, I was literally just adjusting to the play and just to the speed and the physicality. And I say last year too, probably the first 10 games, and this year too, the first 10 games. It's just a change from in the summer when you're training and we're just training and stuff. It's just a change quick, and it's different. So it's fast and it's good, but I don't know. It's a good change, but I don't know. I adapted pretty well, I think, and I don't know. I've done pretty well. Start the year off this year, so hopefully we can keep it rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I guess people always, you know, say, you know, what did you ask you? What did you learn from a long run? And there's some, I guess, you know, kind of cliches people kind of throw out there, right, Log? Like, oh, you know, what does it take? Blocking shots and do the little things. And those are obviously cliche for a reason because they're true. But are there, you know, a couple moments, you know, from the run, from the Centennial that'll stick with you, that you'll hold with you, and just next time you need to dig deep for like a confidence moment or just something, a good memory? Like what are one or two of those memories that you can dig back for?
Well, first off, I'll talk about that Humboldt series. That whole series I'll always remember. It's a series that I'll probably say is the hardest series I've ever been a part of in my life. Just how many periods and how much games we played, and yeah, a moment from that, I just take the Game 7 winner. You know, I've never really been a part of a Game 7 winner like that, and it was just incredible to be a part of. It was just surreal, and how we were down with a couple minutes left in the third, and then somehow squeak one in, and then squeak another one in. It was amazing. And then I'd say another moment would probably be just coming into Flin Flon Game 1 and just taking it to them and winning with that big score, and it's just really showed who we were and put us on the map, and people started taking us seriously after that.
So one of your line mates last year, at least at times, Aiden Hutchinson, obviously a very good player. Nooksy mentioned he's off to D1. His little brother Ashton's on your team now. What's the biggest difference between Aiden and Ashton now that you've had a year with both of the guys on the team on your roster?
Like the biggest difference off ice?
Let's go off the ice.
I don't know. I'd say, they're pretty similar. They're pretty similar guys off ice and on ice, I'd say. But I don't know. I'd say, it's a good one.
Let's go with who's better on the ice. Who do you think might end up being better? Because I remember Aiden actually told us that he thinks Ashton has a really good chance. And I know when we were talking to, we were talking to Trevor Blevins earlier in the year, were we not, Noogsy? And he said something about Ashton might actually be a little bit better in his 19-year-old year than Aiden might have been in his 19-year-old year.
I think Trevor was basically just saying that Ashton thinks defensively a little bit more maybe than Aiden. But when you have the sick mitts that Aiden had, like, I don't know. What else is there to think about? I don't know. What?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably say Ashton's younger, right? So he's got a couple years left to grow and get faster and everything, right? So, but I don't know. It's tough to say who's better. They're similar players. They're both really smart and they think the game well, and they both are very high skilled players. So I don't know. I've had a pleasure playing with both of them. So I give it I'd give it to Aiden right now, currently, probably, but you never know down the road. Ashton definitely could probably come up and take that spot for us.
By the sounds of it, it's just nice to have a Hutchinson in the roster, I think is what it sounds like to me.
And they have that same kind of Hutchinson grin that they have. The same grin. You can see it from the press box in Melfort. I can't
another player that hasn't really had an awakening. We always knew that there was something there, but Christian Coombs, right? Your goaltender that's played majority of starts. Losing James Venn from last year, right, could have been maybe a culture shock to a team that had a goaltender that played that often last year. What did you see from Christian Coombs last year, and then to begin this year, that you knew that even though Venn went, that it doesn't matter? We got this guy, he's a gamer, and we trust him.
Yeah, no, Coomer last year when he did get in, he would show up and he showed flashes, so that's how we knew in practice too, he'd be out there and he'd be working hard all the time. So we knew that if he ever got that bigger role or if Venner ever went down, he would be able to step up. And fortunately that never happened last year, but this year he did. He's gotten that step up, he's gotten that role, and he's played it amazingly, and he's playing well, and hopefully this can keep up, and it will. I know it will keep up, but I don't know. I have no complaints out of the kid.
Rory, before we get to your rapid fire, you have one more too? Okay. You called him Coomer. You called Venner. What's Madden Malaka's nickname?
Mads.
Because there's a few there. He could go Mully. You could go Locks. I was like, I wonder.
Locks is good for a goalie.
Yeah, Mads. Okay, I like it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Last one from me. Appreciate your time. Well, quickly, were you ever the one ripping pucks at Coombs while he's wearing that virtual reality mask? Because I saw Red Hamilton was always ripping pucks at it.
I've probably ripped a couple pucks at him while he's doing that.
Just for those that don't know what I'm talking about, Christian Coombs is a really good virtual reality goalie as well. He wears this visor thing and goes out on the ice, and he's really good. And the Mustangs players are probably not supposed to rip pucks at him while he does it, but they do it anyway, so whatever. Last year's decor, obviously you had some real killers like Leith Olofsson and Chase Freemore. These guys would just hammer you. And obviously you had all these other guys too that were good players too there, and obviously you won the championship with that decor. This year you got 2 dub kids and you got 5 returning D, so obviously it's stacked. Which one is more of a pain in the butt to deal with in practice as a forward?
I don't know.
All of them.
No, but which of the 2 decors was man, this one's maybe
which of the 2 years?
I didn't phrase my question properly. I'm sorry.
Which of the 2 years? I don't know. I'd probably say, I don't know. Last year was pretty tough. Last year, I'd say our decors have been very well, very solid both years. I don't know. I'd probably say last year.
Yeah.
Was a little bit more tougher, but you never want to go down on a 1-on-1 against Roberts because he'll probably just try to blow you up. So, I don't know. I'll probably give it to last year though.
Sure.
Rory, I think you're up.
Low diggity. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Here it is. It's Rory's Wraparound presented by Elkridge. Obviously, you are from Winnipeg. I grew up in Selkirk, but I moved to Winnipeg when I was 18. Selkirk's about 40 minutes away. What area of Winnipeg are you from?
I'm from Fort Richmond, so southern area. I live pretty close to the university.
Okay, yep, gotcha. Blue Bomber fan?
Oh yeah, go to all the games.
Big time. There he is. Yeah. I got someone on my team in the bleeding green of Saskatchewan. All right. Who is the most challenging team that you have faced personally this year? You guys are in first place. We have stated today that Melfort is the cream of the crop right now, but you got to shine some respect on one other team. Who's been the hardest challenge that you've played this year?
Well, I'd probably say Weyburn when we played them. We weren't at our total A game, but it was probably Weyburn when last time we played them.
Yeah, right behind you in the standings. Yeah. Weyburn's been exceptional. After winning the Cantera Seeds Cup last year, who was the bearer of the cup? Meaning one player on Melfort that just would never leave its side, and you couldn't find the Cantera Seeds Cup separated from this player. Little too clingy.
I don't know. When we won, I took that thing with Sleva and Duguay and Hutchinson, and we kept that for a while, and Thornton too. We kept that, and we didn't want to give it up, so we kept that for a couple days. But then, all the boys were just crying about it, trying to get it. So I don't know. I'd probably say us though. We had it for a while, and we did not want to give it up.
Very fair. I like how you grouped yourself into that. Did you put anything unusual, like a bowl of Lucky Charms or spaghetti or something in it?
We made a root beer float out of it.
Nice.
We put some vanilla ice cream and some cream soda and some root beer in there. It tasted pretty good.
That's a great idea, and probably is. That's all gluten free, so Nugsy would be able to indulge as well. I got one final one to wrap it up, and I always like to try and test people's memory or test people's trivia. You assisted 3 different goal scorers in the SJHL finals last year. Who were they?
In the finals. So one was Ty Evans, one was Rhett Hamilton.
Yep.
Ty Evans, Rhett Hamilton. Oh. Finals. I don't know. Was it Breedmore?
No, guy scored a lot of goals.
Duguay? I don't know. No.
Hutchinson.
Was it Duguay?
No, Hutchinson.
Okay.
2 out of 3 pretty good, though. 2 out of 3 pretty good.
Don't give him the horn. Oh, that's harsh.
I remember that one.
Hutchinson in the finals. It might have been part of your 2 assist game, so maybe that's why you don't remember it. Maybe it was in the same game.
Might have been. I can't quite remember.
Anyways, that's Rory's Rapid Round. Appreciate it, buddy.
There we go. Guy just gets so many assists and points, he just can't even remember them all. I mean, I wouldn't either, but...
He acts like he's been there before. I like it.
He's been there before. No big deal. Logan, I know you guys have a lot of stuff going on up there, and we'll let you get back to work, but thanks for joining us today, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on the show today.
All right, there you go. That's Melfort Mustangs forward Logan Belton. Great chat with Logan. Awesome to hear from him. Obviously, a lot of great experience coming from last year, Nugsy, and the championship season. Can't ask for a whole lot more, and he might have a whole lot more in store. And I know Rory's got his finger up, but obviously with the Melfort Mustangs in first place, maybe we'll see it again. Rory, what's up?
Well, there's probably a reason he didn't remember it because of the celebration afterwards. It was in the cup clinching game he assisted Aiden Hutchinson. And secondary assist, I guess. But that was his Aiden Hutchinson assist. The revelation of winning the championship, I guess, washed the memory of picking up the assist on his goal. But just to clarify, that was the game it was in.
There you go. Awesome stuff. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we have some stuff to get into. We got Players of the Week. We have our Sustained or Object segment, which is going to be a lot of fun. So stick around until after the break. We'll be right back.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for a combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 236. You could dye your own hair. Or you could save up to $20 a month on a new wireless plan with SaskTel Student Deals.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back for the final segment of SJHL Weekly. Clark, Nugsy, Rory is on the line in Humboldt with the snow and everything. Obviously, Rory joining us virtually, but he's here nonetheless. Let's get into Players of the Week. I remembered this week that we had the video portion, the video animation. Let's start off with the SGU MVP of the week. Now, this guy came in. We talked about him a lot to open the show. Benjamin Polhill for the Estevan Bruins. 2 starts, a .969 save percentage with 62 saves over those 2 games. And he had a shutout on Saturday for his first SJHL shutout. So congrats to Ben, and a great weekend for him. Big week. The Bruins needed him, and he came up huge for him. So that's a big weekend for Benjamin Polhill. The Borgo forward of the week. This guy had a massive night on Friday night specifically, but a good weekend overall for Keenan Ingram of the Yorkton Terriers. 2 games played, he had 4 points. They all came in the Melville game on Friday night, but he did score the overtime winner in that big one. So that was a big game for Keenan Ingram. Congrats to him. The Super U defenseman of the week. We're going to the Flin Flon Bombers for this one. Cole Tanchuk gets his first award of the year. 2 games played, he had 3 points, 2 goals against Nipawin, and 3 points overall in his 2 games against Nipawin this weekend. Again, first award for Cole, and I know this probably won't be his last one. I think he's just getting going this season. So big weekend for Cole. The SaskTel goalie of the week. This guy could have won it last week, to be honest. Graham Brown, he put it together. 51 save performance against Humboldt. He just had the 1 game, but it was so good, Nugsy, we had to give it to him. And Rory can probably attest to that one as well. Huge game against Humboldt. So Graham Brown, again, probably could have won or been was considered last week. Cements it this week and make sure he gets it this week. The IKS Media Rookie of the Week, Ethan Sotner. He led all scorers in points this week. Of course, he did play 4 games. There was a lot of the teams only played the 2 games, but he did get 5 points this week. So he led the league in scoring this week. So big week for him, Ethan Sotner of the Kindersley Clippers. And do you have something to add, or?
Yeah, just really liked his line with Cunningham and Stein Dostal just together. They were terrific. So all 3 of those guys, really, this is an award for all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. They played great in the Notre Dame game that I came to watch with you on, what day was that, Wednesday? Tuesday. And finally, the Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week. Raiden Zacharias of the Melville Millionaires. He had a hat trick in that game that we mentioned against Yorkton, that 7-6 overtime game. Big weekend for him, too. Obviously, no points in that Saturday game. It's so wild. With all the goals and points that were scored on the Friday game, like everyone who didn't get a point on Friday, they scored on Saturday, and vice versa. Nobody who scored on Saturday scored on Friday. Wow. It was kind of a weird anomaly that you just don't see very often. But there you go. Those are the players of the week. That article is up now over on sjhl.ca. If you want to read more about it, go check it out there. And it's all over our social media channels as well. So head over there and check it all out if you want. Boys, it's time for Sustained or Object. We do have the stamp button there. Bryce, go ahead and hit it. If you object to anything that we are about to say, you can hit the objection button right over Rory's face. Usually it's not over Rory's face. Usually you're beside me and it's just on the table. But that's okay. So guys, we're going to start off. I have 8 topics here today. Basically how it's going to work, it's a buy or sell adjacent game. I'm going to say something and you can say, yes, that stat will be sustained, or that will happen, or I buy this, or whatever you want to say. That's sustained. If you disagree or you don't think it'll happen, you hit the objection or you yell objection. I object, just like you're in a courtroom. Okay? Easy enough. We've done this before, but we haven't done it in like a month and a half, so I figured we should get an explanation there. There are currently 4 teams sitting at 25 points. Ryan, can I get you to do me a favor and bring up the overall league standings for me, if you don't mind? If you can bring that up, and we have the Flin Flon Bombers, the LaRange Ice Wolves, the Humboldt Broncos, and the Melville Millionaires. All 4 teams from 5th to 8th place have 25 points on the dot right now. They're all tied. Okay, the topic is, all of these teams will make the playoffs. I'll start with you, Rory. Do you sustain or object?
Well, that fancy new bumper is going to have to take a little bit of a pause, because preseason show I said 2 teams are going to be out, 2 teams are going to be in. Right now it's Kindersley and Estevan out, and it is LaRange, and who am I missing? And Yorkton that are in the playoffs this year. I think you're looking at the playoffs. I'll even take it a step farther. These are the 8 teams for me. I think you're looking at the playoffs. I'm going to sustain it. All the teams with 25 points are in.
Wow. Okay. Nugsy.
No objection.
Yeah, I gotta sustain with those rosters, especially the 3 of them, and the way we've seen LaRange come together. I think it would be insane if any of those 25 pointers don't make it. So sustained.
I'll sustain it too, because I think those are 4 very good teams, and like we said, Melville, they were in first place for a while. So for them to be down in that group, I think Humboldt hasn't, and Rory, I think you've said it several times, maybe they haven't quite shown their complete game quite yet. So they might come along a little ways. LaRange has been so good, and they have the goaltending. Both their goalies have been great. So that'll be interesting. And we all know Kevin Kaminski. I don't think he's done adding yet. I think he's going to tinker with that roster and add something too. And Flin Flon's just getting going now, and they're in that group as well. So I also sustain. I think all 4 of those teams will get in. I don't know if I'll go as far to join Rory on this is the playoffs yet, but I think all 4 of those teams will get in. So there you go.
I gotta say something that people can argue with.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy that we all sustain it when Kindersley's 2 points out.
I know.
It's absolutely wild. So,
I know. That's why I say I don't know if I'll go as far as to agree that this is the playoffs yet, but we'll see. I like it. It's a good discussion. And of course, with the way that the standings are now, it's a discussion we have to have almost every week, because it changes every week. Exactly. Yep. Okay, topic number 2. Flin Flon will not lose until the holiday break. So that is what, December 19th or something like that? Nugsy, I'll start with you on this one, because this was your topic that you came up with.
What was the question? Sorry.
Flin Flon won't lose.
Oh, sorry. Remember in the finals last year, Rory? We had our intro, and I was like, Flin Flon won't lose until the new year.
What sport are we covering here?
I think Flin Flon will lose, so I object. 8 games is a lot. There's got to be some adversity at some point for Flin Flon. They're a great team. They're playing very well. Mike Reagan's very happy. But it's a lot to expect him to win every single one, so I object.
Rory?
Yeah, I asked him a long-winded question in the intro to a finals game, and he responds back to me with, "That's right." I'm like, "Thanks, Nugsy."
No, that's not what happened.
Is that not that?
No, that has happened too. But
that was a different time.
Open the broadcast, we had a whole plan, and you did your spiel, and then you're like, "What do you think, Nugsy?" And I was like, I just like zoned out, and then I spoke, and I did a great job. So
you know, knowing how broadcasting goes, it probably wasn't as bad in your brain as you think it was, because like sometimes you're like you pause on air and you're like, oh no, that was like 1 minute of silence, but it was like 4 seconds.
Producer Rusty, when we were done, he was like, wakey, wakey, and then I was like, do you want to do it again? He's like, no. So he was happy with it. It was funny.
Rory, sustain or object to the flim-flon question?
8 games is a lot, and especially with 5 teams out of the playoffs in this 6-game winning streak. Look, I think they can win 6 of the games, but 8 games in a row, I think you gotta object, Your Honor.
Love it. Yeah. I'm gonna say, just for the heck of it, sustained. You know what? 14 games, it's been done so far this season. Weyburn did it, so why can't Flin-Flon do it? I like it. So I'm going to go with sustained on this one, just to be on the other side of it. Okay, this one, Rory, this was kind of your topic, so I'm going to let you start with this one. The divisions this year. So all 3 divisions will be decided. Now, this is the division winner, I think is what you're clarifying. So first and second place. It will be within 4 points in all 3 divisions this year between first and second place. Sustained or object?
Sustained. No problem or argument, Your Honor, because, you know, you look at 2 of them and they're within 1 point right now. Yeah. I do not see that changing. And the one that's not, it's a 7-point gap between Melfort and Flin-Flon. And I do think that Flin-Flon is going to be one of the best teams starting now until the end of the season. And they might not win the division, but they'll close the gap to 4 points. No argument.
Yeah, I mean, we just talk about the parity every single week on this show. Easy sustain for me. Yeah.
I just haven't said object yet, so I object.
Do you think there's going to be some big gap in some division, between first and second?
Well, right now, like Rory said, the Melfort one, it was 7 points right now, I think. So I just feel like, you know, if we talk about how good Melfort is, maybe they'll keep it around 5+. I don't think it's going to be much more, though. I think Rory said, I think Flin-Flon's going to storm back, but I think they could keep it above maybe 5 to 6 or something like that, but we'll see. This is a fun one. The Rookie of the Year this year will be a goaltender. Nugs, I'm going to start with you on this one. There are a couple of different candidates that could be in the running for this one. We could see legitimately like 3 possibly goalies that are rookies up for Rookie of the Year. Whereas years past, I think, what was last year? Did we have, how many candidates do we do for Rookie of the Year?
Every award has 3 candidates.
What was the one that had 5 though? We had one that had 5 last year.
I think maybe
was that Rookie?
Maybe Gentleman or.
Oh, it was the most sportsmanlike. Yeah. Okay, so out of the 3, there could be 1 or 2, maybe even all 3. There's a lot of good players that aren't goalies. But what do you think, Nugsy? Sustain or object? That the winner will be a goalie.
I object. I object, not because they don't deserve it, but because everybody's points obsessed. Yeah. And there are some really good 19-year-old players. And I don't know, maybe we should look at the rules and change what counts as a rookie. But there's some guys who are terrific 19-year-old players that are going to be impactful guys for the veterans team, for example, on the SJMJ Showcase. Then you go down the list, and of course, there's the likes of Jackson Herchak and how accomplished he is. As good as Brett O'Halloran, for example, has been, and there are others who are younger as well in terms of what you would call a rookie goaltenders, and they're doing great. But I just think it's too hard for a goalie in this day and age, so I object.
Rory?
You got to turn the spotlight on the netminders. There's been some good young ones. I think it's very possible, if not probable, that if this continues the way either Madden Malacqua, Callum Craig, Graham Brown, Nick Jeanette, if he can, pick up a game a bit. But those 3 that I mentioned before are very deserving. I will sustain this one.
And O'Halloran, who's the only goalie.
Brett O'Halloran as well, yes.
Yeah. And I'll throw another one, because we just talked about him, Benjamin Polhill. I mean, he's right now, he's the dark horse, but if he's going to be running with the Estevan Crease for the rest of the season, those numbers could change, and who knows? We'll see. In terms of value, like I remember last year we talked about like the most valuable player, and guys who have big workloads, they get a little bit more consideration. That could be something that Benjamin Polhill works his way into, depending on how the rest of the season goes. So lots to keep an eye on. I'm going to say object.
Yeah.
And simply because, well, Nugsy said, and I didn't even think about this, but like Nikita Ivashenko has 24 points in 21 games, technically a rookie. Is he? Technically. Max Chakrabarty's in the conversation. He's the 19-year-old I think you're kind of mentioning. But Raiden Zacharias has 18 points in 16 games. Neka Jean's having a good year. He's a rookie, 17 points in 22 games. Jackson Herchak, same numbers there. Yeah. So I feel like there's going to be too many skaters.
I just think it's stacked. It's stacked against goalies in this day and age.
Yeah. But I do love the idea, and I hope it happens, honestly.
Has Brady Holtvoet even given up a goal, Rory? I mean, I'm being facetious, but he's every time he seems to play, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, not many.
He just recently got called up for a quick stint with the was it the Prince George Cougars, right? Because they had a goalie situation. So he's not there at the moment, but he'll be back, I'm sure, and running with that goaltender. He'll be goaltender tandem in Humboldt there. Next one. We kind of talked about this one all show so far, but the Melfort Mustangs, sustained or object, are the best team in the SJHL right now, hands down. Rory, I'll start with you on this one.
Quick one. Hard not to sustain this. No argument, Your Honor.
All right.
Yeah, sustained. Rory and I gave you a long list of stats. You can rewind the tape. Sustained.
I'm going to say object.
What? Okay.
What? I just wanted to see what Bryce would do if I objected that one mostly. That was
so
Bryce,
who is then Rory?
A+.
I mean Clark, whichever one you are.
I plead the fifth. That's another court term, right? Plead the fifth. No comment.
Look at not a crazy objection though, because if you do consider the points that Yorkton lost in the overturned games, they would be in first place. So not crazy, but I like Melfort.
Yeah, I'm going to say object, and we'll go with the field. I'll go with the field.
Okay.
Again, we're going to know by the Christmas break, I think. So let's see. I think it's going to be a fun few weeks here as we get going. Okay, another one. Jackson Herchak. Now we did this one in our first abstain. Nope, wrong word. Sustain. Sustain or object.
It's getting loopy up in here.
Woo! What day is it? Friday? Nope, Monday. Jackson Herchak leads defenseman in scoring. We did this one in our first segment when we did this. We're carrying it over to this time. He's currently, I think it's fourth right now. And there's a couple of good players ahead of him. But Nugsy, I'll start with you on this one. Sustain or object that he will lead the league in defensive scoring?
Yeah, I object. Like that's not like I love Jackson in all ways. It's not points are not his game. He gets points through the way that he plays the right way. He gets points because he's on the power play and because he's a great player, but it's not really, he's not an offensive defenseman. You think about Trey Fouquet, what he's established, big part of that Humboldt power play, Chakrabarty, you kind of go down the list. My guy, Liam Hunks, who's been on fire lately. I love watching that kid day in, day out. There's just a couple of vets ahead of him, that's all. But no shot at all at Herchak, but I object.
Rory?
Your Honor, my client is going up against the entire field, and I just object to that reasoning. As Nugsy said, Herchak's a great, great young player, but I'll take the field.
Yeah, I object also. Again, it's not even that, to kind of copy Nugsy, it's not even that he's a bad player. He's going to be probably top 7 or 8 in scoring by the end of it, but there's just so many guys. I mean, the guy who's not even in the top 5 right now, and, Nugsy, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned him at all today, Vinny Palmerine, he's got a point per game. In 16 games, he's got 15 points, and because he came back a little late. So I think he's just getting going too, and holy cow, there's a lot of good defensemen out there this year that I think will end up getting a few more points. But
Andrusiak, if he can stay healthy.
But I think we will all agree that is not Jackson Herchak's fault. He's having a great year, and he's going to have a great rest of the year.
Points don't matter. If he goes to the World Junior A Challenge, and I said this to Mike Reagan even, I said if he goes to the World Junior A Challenge and he doesn't get a point for Canada West, I still will believe he'll play well. I don't care if Jackson Herchak gets a point.
Yeah.
That's not his game.
For sure. We'll move on to the next one. We got 2 more left. Quick ones here. The season will end with 10 30-goal scorers this year. Now, last year there were 8, and there was then 4 guys that had 25 or more, but not quite 30. This year, there's a lot of guys in double digits already. I think there's 14 with at least 10 already. Now, I think, what are we, 20 to 23 games into the year, so not quite halfway for most of the season, or most of the league, but almost. So I know there's a long way to go for 30 goals, but what do you guys think? 10 goal scorers? 10 30-goal scorers? Nugsy, I'll start with you.
Oh, 10 30-goal scorers. That is a lot of 30-goal scorers. Yeah, I'm going to object. I'm going to object.
Okay.
I'm going to object. It's going to be very close. I think there's some good goal scorers in our league. I think there's actually more playmakers than pure shooters. I think we're seeing some teams right now that would like just some more pure shooters. So I'm going to object.
Rory?
Your Honor, the way the defense has phrased this matter is a complete travesty. I object.
Wow.
I've watched a lot of law movies.
I love the angles you're taking on these answers. Yeah, absolutely. My Cousin Vinny was on the other day. Oh man, if you guys don't know what My Cousin Vinny is, it's a good one. That's a funny one. I'll object to. Now the reason I say this is mostly because of our next question, which we'll get into in a second. But I just think, it's like Nugsy said, I think it's spread out this year. I feel like it's a little bit more spread, where we're seeing more guys who will probably end up with 20 goals around the league, but maybe not to the extent of what we saw last year with 8 30-goal scorers. I think we're going to see a ton of 20-goal scorers, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it just means more guys are getting more minutes and the goals are spread out. So I think that's what we'll see. Yep. Okay, final one, and this is why I said not sure yet. 9 goalies right now have a 9-10 save percentage. Rory, if you remember earlier in the season of our shows, we were saying we were not sure if there were going to be 6. Right now there's 9, and there's like 3 guys with like a 906 or better too. Will that number maintain by the end of the year? 9 goalies above a 9-10 save percentage. Rory, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I think there's you're seeing the best goaltending in terms of larger numbers of goaltending having this season so far than I think you have in a lot of years. So I have no problem with this. You can debate it as you will, but I will sustain it.
Wow, there we go. Nugsy.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not about like how we feel. Like it's about who's in the league, like who these kids are. Yeah. Like there are that many good goalies in this league. Like so, it's simple to say sustain, not on a whim, but just because you look how deep the goalie group is. Yeah, easy.
I love this. I love the fact that we're all in agreement on this because I'm going to sustain it as well. And I'm going to read the names off right now who currently do have a 9-10. Dazza Mitchell, Graham Brown, Angelo Zoll, Christian Coombe, Edward Gauthier, Madden Malacca, Callum Craig, Logan Falk, and Justin Merrick. So there's 9 right now, as I mentioned. And the ones on the outside that are right there are Brett O'Halloran with a 908, Ethan Farrell with a 907, and Nick Jeanette with a 907. So, and Spencer Borsos is going to get there. He's right.
It's in my wishes. It's in my birthday wishes.
He's coming. So, I mean, I think I'm going to sustain it as well, just because of the fact the names, like you guys mentioned, the names that are in the group already, but the names that are on the outside. I think Ethan Farrell is going to get there within a couple of starts, and then I think he won't leave after he gets there. It's just a matter of a couple of games here and there for those guys. We talk about the track meets, Rory. That are Yorkton Terrier games sometimes, but I think that'll figure itself out. So I'm going to sustain it as well. So there you go, guys. That was sustain or object. We will bring this one back, but I love this segment. I think it's a lot of fun. Yep. Let's bring up the schedule for the week here, gentlemen in the back. We got games on Tuesday. We got a game on Wednesday. Let's have a look at Tuesday here as we go into the rest of the week. Because there's 3 games, tomorrow night. Yorkton is in Weyburn. That should be a doozy. Melfort's in Larange. That should be a doozy. And Kindersley is in Notre Dame. It seems like Notre Dame only plays Kindersley these days.
Yeah.
But let's look at Wednesday because, nope, that's not true. Notre Dame plays the Humboldt Broncos on Wednesday, so Rory will be down. Maybe I'll try to come to that one. We'll see if I can get out of the house. But, guys, not just these 2 games, or two days, I should say, but the rest of the week. What are you guys looking forward to? Rory, I'll start with you on this one, maybe.
I'm looking at the top, and then I'm looking at the playoff line. I like the matchup Melfort and Larange in Larange on Tuesday, tomorrow. So I'm really liking that matchup. Then Melfort goes back home and takes on Battleford. So let's see if Melfort can continue this championship dominance. And then I'm also looking at Estevan because they won 2 games. They have games in hand, but if they lose them, then obviously you don't have games in hand anymore. Right. And they're playing Weyburn this weekend on Saturday in Estevan. So that's a fun game as well.
Absolutely. That's going to be fun. Real fun.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about the Yorkton Terriers and the Weyburn Red Wings, how they haven't, I spoke about how Weyburn hasn't played in a while. The Yorkton Terriers are in Weyburn. If you want to see a track meet with 2 explosive offenses, as explosive as we've seen in the SJHL in years, then that is a matchup you want to go see at the CPP. And, you know, I always love a neutral site game, boys. I do. Carlisle on Friday, the Estevan Bruins and the Notre Dame Hounds in Carlisle. It was a really good battle last year. The Hounds won, and the press box was really hot, and the rink was really cold, and I probably was very close to death as a result. But the Hounds played very well and won the game, and I'm sure it'll be a doozy again. And yeah, like obviously I've watched the Estevan Bruins on video a lot, but I actually even haven't seen them in person just yet. So I'm excited to see Jason Tatarnic and the boys for the first time really in person. So that'll be interesting too.
There you go. Love that. It's going to be a great week. And as I say it every week, I think the action across the province this year has been just phenomenal. So if you have a chance to and you're in the areas, please go to the rinks, support these teams, buy your tickets. Get your merch, get your popcorn. But it's a great time this year. Every game is so entertaining, so make sure you get out to the rinks. And if you can't, of course, get to the rink. We still got you covered either way. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms and get your Flow Hockey subscription so you can watch the games or check out all the action if you missed it. Facebook, obviously, X, Instagram, TikTok, of course, on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way for us and appreciate that. And of course, one more big thank you to our sponsors as well. Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Capital Auto Mall. I'm doing this without the graphic. There we go. Sask Lottery, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL for sponsoring all of our broadcasts, SGU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. Greatly appreciate all of our sponsors and partners. And we will be back on SJHL Insider on Thursday. Gentlemen, oh, what you got there?
Can you see that, Nugsy?
I tolerate a lot of things, but not gluten.
Not gluten.
There you go. That's for you, pal.
There you go.
Is that a little gift?
Love it.
Is you going to give that to
Oh,
him?
yeah. Megan's gluten-free as well. She's celiac, so
There
her
you
and
go.
Nugsy share that.
That's great. Now, one comment I just wanted to bring up. Kelly Lewick, it just came up on the screen a second ago. There it is. Bonus question. First-time mustache Movember grower Clark. Should he keep his mustache?
Oh, good question.
I say yes. I've gotten some compliments, guys, on the mustache that I wasn't necessarily anticipating. And I'm wondering if I should throw down a challenge right now to all the teams across the league, as well as the SJHL staff, and say, if we hit $25,000 as a league, which is a lot for considering we only have 1 week left, and I think it's what, we need 6,000 more across the league, I'll keep it until New Year's. If we hit 25K, I'll keep it until New Year's. What do you think? Is that too much, or should I lower that to 22.5? What are we thinking? 25? That's fair?
How much do you like
I
it?
think 25 is definitely attainable, but you know, any money raised is amazing money raised. So put yourself in a place where you need to keep it anyways, Clark, because it looks great.
I'm thinking maybe I should just go to 20. We can hit 20.
I
We'll hit 20 by tomorrow.
I think both you and Director of Marketing Jacob Faith just look terrific.
Yeah,
with the
Jacob's
mustache,
rocking
so.
it pretty good too, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'll say let's go to 22.5. If we hit 22.5, I'll keep it until New Year's. I'll do it. Because it's like you said, Rory, I don't even mind it. So I think it's okay. The worst part is just shaving everything else. That's the worst part because I'm used to just kind of not shaving for them generally. But yeah, we'll do that. There's a challenge, open challenge to all the teams. If we hit 22.5, I'll keep it till New Year's. But yeah, we'll be back on Thursday with SJHL Insider. Myself and Nugsy will recap the next couple of days of games. So there'll be 4 games to recap and then look ahead to the weekend a little bit closer. And we'll be right back with you here on Monday next week. I'm hoping Rory can get into studio next week, of course. It should be. He'll have his tank treads on his car by then, so he'll be able to get through the snow. Hopefully they'll plow some snow by then. But either way, appreciate everybody tuning in. For everybody in the back, of course, here at the IKS Media Studios, Ryan, Bryce, Kelly upstairs making all of our great stuff for us. We appreciate everybody. And until this upcoming Thursday, enjoy the hockey, everyone, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.